What's up, everybody? Big Herc, fresh out. You tuned into another dope interview. I got here Neil Tazad. You guys have been asking for it. We brought him to the show. Blacks is about to kick some real game for you guys. It's always good to have some diversity on the channel, so we wanted to get him on board and have him kind of give his insight on what he's been through in life. So Blacks, man, tell the people, man, a little bit about where you're from and what you're about, because they got a lot of questions, man.
So yeah, for a lot of you that know me, my name is Neil Zod, Blackie. But anyways, how I pretty much grew up is in between San Fernando and Pacoima. And a lot of people know my story already, why I got into a Mexican gang, and the simple facts, just my road on how I got there. And it pretty much started because my pops, he grew up with nothing but Hispanics pretty much. And I seen what he was doing. And even though he never got into where he was from, like I was influenced by my surroundings. And at the end of the day, it only came down to two things that I was willing to get into, and that was either Bloods or Southerners. And unfortunately, I ended up where I was, and Southerners had a greater pull on me. They actually and that's the funny thing about it, because I probably would have never been a gangbanger if they wouldn't have asked me to get in. My family never wanted me to get involved in gangs. They never wanted me to be a Blood. So with that, I kind of just like slid back for a second. But then when I moved from Pacoima to Sun Valley, which I was born in Sun Valley at Sierra Memorial, but like I said, I grew up in between San Fernando and Pacoima. But when I moved to from Pacoima to Sun Valley, that's when it started. A lot of people I grew up with, there was really no diversity, wasn't no division. You had Hispanics playing with blacks, blacks playing with Hispanics. We played everything from baseball to football to, just anything that we could, basically growing up in a diverse neighborhood. You're into everything, and it wasn't really no racial divide. It was just, everybody, we all ate at each other's house. We all I don't know, it wasn't really no problem there. It wasn't really no problem until later on. But for the most part, that's where I grew up. One of my homies got at me and was like, I guess he seen which route we were going. He asked me if I wanted to get in, and I was like, well, give me a second, because I was still unsure at that, because I didn't want, I still respected my mom's rules. So I was like, I didn't want to get involved in that, and knowing what it entailed after seeing so many people get shot and killed, gangbang with, as far as family. I was unsure if I really wanted to get into that. But it's crazy, because how it happened is one of my homies that I used to hang with that wasn't even banging actually knocked on my door and was like, hey, they're ready to jump you in. And it in that split moment, it was a decision to be made. I could either, and I actually was gonna walk back in the house, like, hold on, let me go get this. But I knew that if I walked back in the house, I would change my mind. And even though in that instance I thought maybe I should just avoid it, like a dummy, It's like you want to be accepted, and not necessarily by one particular race. You just want to be accepted. You want to, when you're young like that, you don't really think about the consequence. You just think, oh, I'm hanging around these guys, like it's all good, and it's gonna turn out great for me.
How old were you?
At that time, I think I was like 10. I think I was 10, going on 11, and that's how it happened. I walked up to the top and got jumped in. And
so, did you have any older brothers that had influence on you, as far as or either maybe even cousins that were doing other things outside of this gangbanging?
See, I had family like there's a few of my family members that were Muslims, but for the most part, it's a sad thing, but the majority, a lot of my family that I hung around were gang members. Or if they weren't gang members, the people that could have had real influence on my life were incarcerated. Like, I had an uncle that just got out from doing 36 years or something. So I didn't really have that type of role model. And I'm lying right there, because I had one in particular, but we had lost contact just due to the fact that I was starting to go to juvenile hall and placements and things like that. So I lost contact with the one person that could have like really made a real difference, and that was my Uncle Ike. That's pretty much the guy that I consider like my pops, you know, because Dad wasn't really like one of those that went to jail, but he was, you know, he was out there doing his own thing, you know. So we shifted and went in different directions, you know what I mean?
So what was the incident that actually led to you getting your big jail time, to, you know, which kind of like changed your life?
Whew. Like I said, I've been going to jail since I was like 9 or 10, and all for miscellaneous stuff as far as like, you know, it like violence, you know what I mean? It was, if it wasn't not carjacking, but if it wasn't grand theft, if it wasn't, you know, fights, if it wasn't writing on walls, you know. But that's really just like nothing. What really got me is I ended up getting out of camp at 18. And when I got out of camp, my mind state was to leave everything alone. Like, you know what, I'm done. But I think it was like one instance where I was with my sister and some dude, like, and I tell you something, my mom, when she moved to this particular neighborhood, she asked them, hey, is it cool that my son comes here? Because, you know, they're like, okay, where's your son from? She said it, and she was like, if it's not cool, we'll leave, you know, before he gets out of camp. So they said it was cool, and I end up in that neighborhood, and it's actually right down the street from a police station. And when they disrespected me in front of my sister, I went all the way back to how I used to think, which was bad. And I just started doing a lot of stuff. In one neighborhood that I was, before I got busted, that I was in, I had caught all my adult cases in that neighborhood. And it was just from that one instance of that, just sent me in a spiral. And consecutive, like every year, I was in jail. Either it was like a year in the county, or it was 6 months in the county, or 3 months in the county. But I think that's all what led up to this case that I got the last time, and that was attempted murder. They actually picked me up on assault with a firearm, and it was the dude embellished it, but they sent me and one of my friends. They picked us up right there, you know. They picked us up. I didn't want him, he was young, he was like 13, 14. I didn't want him to do no time. I didn't want him to be incarcerated. So I told the cop, hey man, it was on me. Like, why you got this guy? Let him go. And the cop agreed. He's like, well, he didn't say he did nothing, so we're gonna go ahead and once we get to the station, we'll call his mom, we'll kick him out. And then from right there, I end up getting, you know how they come in there like, you got a face-to-face interview. I had already been down for like 2 weeks. And they're like, you got a face-to-face interview. And right there, I already knew what they were looking for me for, because the detectives were already chasing me down the street, you know, for this shooting. And I wasn't really running. I was just like, you know, because I was still out there doing dumb stuff. But I kind of consider I was going to get washed anyway. But luckily, I didn't continue on that path to do even more. You know, that's usually how I go. You're running from something and you want to get even more involved. Like, I'm going to get all day anyway. And then from that case, that attempted murder is what sent me, like, man, it's crazy, because I could have, how should I say, they were really pushing for me to stop doing what I was doing. And this is coming from homies that I knew and grew up with. They were pushing for me to stop, like, hey, you've already did enough, that's it. But that need to want to be that person kept me doing stupid stuff. But when I got busted for this case, I still had the mentality like it was on. Anybody that had anything to do with that case, I was pushing up on them. You know what I mean? Just out of frustration and stupidity. You know, when you go in at 18, 19, you're still thinking like a little kid. So my idea was like, anybody that I thought was telling on me, whatever, I wanted hands. We had to get something, or it was just, you know, it was stupidity, but you know, that's how I thought, you know. But for the most part, I went through prison just really just on a good one. Just
how much time did you get for that case?
I ended up getting 13 years, and they took like a year of my credit. Had already been down 16 months. So that's what made me do pretty much almost 14.
And where'd they send you to initially? What prison? And it was the state, correct?
Yeah, it's funny because I had been in the county so long after they had law. You know how when you get like 1, 2, 3, like when you're gonna go on trance or like, you know, the pen's ready for you. They had me on 0, so basically I had lost my paperwork. So I was lost in the system, and at first it was nothing because I was already used to the county. But I noticed the longer I stayed there, the more stuff I did, the more riots were kicking off, the more everything. So I was like, eventually my mom was like, you need to get out the county before you catch another case. And then from there, they sent me to Wasco. And when I went to Wasco, I already knew it was going to be, you know, I already knew it was going to be issue because I wasn't really knowing exactly what I knew that it was going to be drama, but I didn't know what it entailed as far as like what to do. Nobody told me, hey, you know, you got to do this.
Politics.
Yeah, all the basics. And I knew that there was separation, but I didn't know, like, for example, like they cracked my door and I didn't know where to sit. I didn't know none of that. You know what I mean? It says in reception. So I shut my door right back. And I lay back on my bunk and I was like thinking, damn, maybe I should have went out, but I'm like, where I'm gonna sit? Then I was like, they cracked my door again, and I just said, you know, even though it might cause, because you know on Wayside and all that, they have this separation. These are our tables, these are their tables, and you know, it separates like that. So when I came out, I'm seeing I noticed everybody is sitting everywhere. It's just where your cell comes out. So that was cool to me. I'm like, okay, cool. So when I came down, I sat at the table and I was basically, I immediately got at the first homie I seen, like I would do in any other situation, and tell them where I'm from. And they would, you know, they let me know, okay, well, hey, just let me know what the rules are. So they let me know the rules, whatever. And for the most part, it was easy. Right there, I got comfortable and just like, oh, this ain't nothing, you know, it ain't nothing. But then, you know, the real starts happening, and that's when, you know, there's issues, there's division, there's gang issues, you know what I mean? And then from there on, it's just like, I tell you, from the time I hit reception to the time I got out, it was just pure drama, you know what I mean? It was just, it was always drama. It's like walking in a place filled with vipers, you know what I mean? You're in a situation to where everybody, you got some people that like you, some people that hate you, some people that think you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, and some people are confused by what you're doing. Like they're like, okay, they see a black running with Mexicans, and it's like, you know, that's in most places that's a no-no. But so when they see that, the frustration there, I've been in situations to people like really mentally, you can see that they want to hurt me, but they just can't because, you know, it's like in order to do that, you got to kick off something really big.
So, you know, through your experiences and what you've been through, man, in the pen, who really can you trust?
In truth, there's only 2 people I could trust. The rest of them I just kept at a distance, and that's just for certain reasons. I mean, when it comes down to prison, it's like this. The less people you deal with, the less likely to have issues. So I chose 2 people because, and that's not because I usually trust anybody. It's just a simple fact that these people have proved themselves time and time again, and that's why I chose to really, like, you know, have trust to them. You know what I mean? But everybody else I just kind of shine to the side because you can't really trust nobody in prison, and anybody that's been there knows, you know.
Isn't it crazy too? Because a lot of times you're around certain individuals or you're busting a spread, and you know that this person's a piece of shit, but you gotta still act like you're cordial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, because the dude's like, you just know that if it was on the street, you would never even talk to this person.
Yeah. And it's like that, and that's the thing. It's like when you're in prison, it's basically a boiling pot. You know what I mean? And you got so many different type of mentalities in prison that you kind of like, you know, you find the ones that you really function with the best. You got people that are just a little off, borderline EOP. You know, the ones that take pills. You got the ones that you know that are never going to get out, and even though they get out, they're always going to be mentally incarcerated. And then you got the ones that you know really ain't with the drama. They just want to do their time and go home. And then you got the ones that just want to ride 24/7. Unfortunately, the ones that wanted to get their ride on is the ones I tend to gravitate to at first. And then gradually I slipped back to the people that were more into books, more into reading, more into, just basic general stuff, not so incarcerated while they're incarcerated. They wanted to do things like read like magazines like Forbes and the Robert Point Travel. My God, I would look in there and I would see some of the things, and people actually purchasing islands for as low as like $2 million.
I know, it's crazy, huh?
I wanted that. So I'm like, and that's one of the things that I was talking about earlier. What made me really want to turn things around is because I seen that it could be had. I mean,
that's right.
You know what I mean? And that's why I went that route.
Now, as you got closer to being released, I know that, a lot of times people ask me, man, do you kind of like just, kind of remove yourself from the regular culture and try to avoid a lot of bullshit and, pick and choose? And I tell people, you got to really watch out, because sometimes people try to set you up, and then a lot of times you don't even let people know when you're getting out. So what are some of the things, right before you got out that you prepared yourself for so that you could make the transition?
You know what? Unfortunately, I still had a certain mentality. Like I had understood that this was no longer me, but I still had the mentality that I'm gonna ride until I got out. And I think with having that state of mind allowed me to basically go through what I needed to do in order to get out. But I wouldn't say that was like the best thing to do, but that's just what worked for me at the moment. Until like, you had a couple of older homies pull me to the side, because that's the thing I can say that I've always had in prison, was an older homie telling me like, because when I first got busted, I was like really stupid, like really, the what you would call a shit starter, the ones that's always looking for drama and just like not so much to try to prove yourself, but to prove yourself. You want people to not look at you a certain way, so you're like, oh, I'm gonna handle my business every chance I get. After that gets played out, but you got like older cats that would always tell me like, hey, Blacks, you need to slow up, dog. Like you really need to slide back. Like, look at me, I got this many years. If you're trying to get out, you got a date, you got a chance to get out one day. Why are you doing things that's gonna keep you incarcerated? And at first it's like, you're younger, so I'm like, whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever. But as I got closer to the house, that's what resonated. Them same guys that I know that were really not the little lames that, pretend to be about it, but that they're weak. These are actual reputable cats, older homies that did multiple shoots and then turned their life around. And hopefully one day, inside of them is hopefully one day that they'll go home. So they like literally shifted everything. I'm not talking about, change certain things. No, they changed everything entirely. They stopped functioning with most homies. They still had their reputation. They still did all the basic things, come to yard, mandatory workout, whatever. But as far as like want to get out there with the knuckleheads, and even though, and that's the thing, a lot of people consider some older cats wise, and in most instances that's untrue. You can find more wisdom in somebody that may be 18 than you can find in some 40 and 50 years old. It's just what type of state of mind you have. And that's basically what I did. When I got close to the house, like I said, I did turn up a little bit, but I had somebody older be able to pull me back. And I had to realize that I would never have nothing if I continued on that path. You know what I mean?
So when you got out and you realized that, you had to get your shit together, you had you had to take care of your business, you had a family. What was some of the things you did to ensure that you could be successful?
For one, I had to get in the mind state of wanting to be successful. And then I also had to understand, I came to the conclusion that in order to be successful, I had to do everything I needed in order to avoid going back to that cage. Because in prior convictions, in prior cases, I never really, cared about that. Like I always got out and I'd be like, I'll be back in a month. It became like a joke to my mom, even though it would hurt her. She would be like, you ready to go home? And I'd be like, give me a couple of weeks and I would be back incarcerated. But this time I got out with that mentality that I refused to go back unless I really had to go back. And how should I say, there was no reason for me to go back. I wanted my kids. I wanted to be able to grow up my kids. I no longer wanted to be in a cage with somebody 24/7, because I didn't do no camp programs. I didn't do no lower levels under a 3, and most of them are level 4 180. And it was just like, I didn't want to be in a cell taking poos next to some dude, or him taking poos and I'm right there, and having who's gonna get the top and the bottom bunk, even though you pretty much come to a conclusion like, okay, you can have this, I can have that, but I just didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want to be showering with guys the rest of my life, and it's like that's just one of the main things. My kids, my mom, and didn't want to be incarcerated when she passed away, and I didn't want to be one of those homies, because I know a lot of them that do that. They got family that were real close to them, they pass away and they lose their mind. Some don't, but I just didn't want to endure that type of pain, and I wanted my kids,
Yeah.
And that's why I chose to involve myself in every freaking program I could. And I had a pro officer that was on the point. He was a driller, and not like the type that just always on your head, but he just like, if you say you want it, oh, what you want to do? Oh, I want a job, I want this. Oh, you want a job? Okay, well look, I'm gonna send you here, I'm gonna send you here, I'm gonna send you here. And you expect it, because and to be honest with anybody that's thinking about doing crimes and getting on parole, the parole officer ain't got nothing for you. Nothing. My parole officer was setting the status quo. He was like opening up programs and that's why they dealt with him so much, and they had so much faith in him.
So he actually cared.
Woo! Like he really, and he was a patient man. He was a patient man, and even though I didn't get out and do nothing stupid, I tell you one mistake I made before. I didn't end up scouting, but I basically missed an appointment a couple of times, and they didn't want to send you back to prison, not for that. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to put a bracelet on me, which would have hindered my movement from coming from where I was staying in IE to LA to work. And my professor fought against it, and he and I thought he was gonna just be like, you know what, you're an idiot and this, but no, he fought for every program that he put me in, and he put me in a position to win constantly, and he did that for all his parolees, and that's why his track record on parolees getting off parole is high, and and that's basically what helped me,
And what would you tell these people who are getting out on parole, probation, trying to get their shit together, that are making excuses or trying to justify certain actions, man? What would you tell those people, man?
For the most part, don't depend predominantly on the pro office, because with the way money is now, they don't have no programs for you. So you're gonna have to make your way. And I'm gonna tell you one thing that you really want to look into once you get out: the DOR. If you got a Department of Rehabilitation in your city, and I get no money for promoting them, but I'm just telling you because that's what helped me. Get in the DOR, take their programs. They pay you to job search. They pay you for transportation. If they can't put you in a position to get a job at that time, they will put you in school if you ask. But for the most part, they're going to be pushing you towards a job. After a while, you should be in a position to get it. I know people right now that got into union. Like I used to break down laboratories and decomp and all that. So yeah, go to the DOR. That's just plain and simple. Just all honesty, go to the DOR. They're gonna put you in a position to win, especially if you go to the one in Norwalk.
And what that's great information, man, because a lot of you guys out there, you guys comment, you send us emails asking about stuff. And I always tell you, first of all, if you're watching the channel, stay the fuck out of prison if you've never been. If you have been to prison, hopefully you're wise now and you can make proper decisions. But take the man's advice, and man, go check out the DOR and get yourself right. As far as what you're doing now, man, what can we expect from you in the future, man? What are some of the projects you got going on, and day-to-day life for you? What is it like now?
Well, right now I'm putting all my focus towards there's a few artists that have been out, but they haven't been out. There's divisions right now. It's like, okay, if you're Hispanic, you're placed in a certain category, and a lot of these races, they don't want to collab with each other because there is some type of racial divide, especially in Southern California. That's just how it is. And right now, with this group in particular, is proving our point. In fact, this is their one of their logos right here. It's called No Hope. They're out of North Hollywood. They don't gangbang, never gangbang. They've been in the, amongst but they never chose to go that route. It's always been about pure hip hop, and that's basically what they spit. It's pure hip hop. And this is right here. It's like, basically no division. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those type of brands that I'm pushing. I got another brand that I'm pushing, but it's more urban wear. My sister's brand right here is another thing I'm pushing. And I'm basically, I'm pushing a lane in order to create a lane, not only for my homies, but for anybody that functions with me that's trying to jump into this particular lane and get what you can get. I'm not worried about eating. Jump in the lane, get what you can get, and get out. You know what I'm saying? If it takes you even further than what you expected to go, then by all means, that's you. You know what I mean? And that's basically what I'm doing. I'm just trying to bridge these gaps and try to, create this realm where it's not so much separation and people placing people in a box. This is Latin rap. This is it's just rap.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And that's basically it.
So, looking back, man, I always get this question. Looking back at a younger you, at a younger Blacks, what would you tell a younger version of you if you could sit down and have a conversation today with yourself? I mean, if you were to sit down and say, hey, blah, 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 knowing what you experienced, what would you tell yourself?
I would just say straight out that it's just not worth it. You know what I mean? It's fun and games when you're young and you're running around, and then, juvenile hall was trash, but, that's not that bad, until you start going to like CYA and you start doing prison time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, my advice to you is just go to school, get you a job, get you a girl, settle down, do something good in life, and avoid it. It's like you got people that, and don't be scared to be different. You know what I mean? A lot of people talk mess about me because I'm different. I chose another route, and though it was negative, I still chose my route, and I stayed solid to my route, and now I'm able to sit back and reap the benefits of going straight once I got out. So if I was you, stay away from it. If you around people that want you to get involved in it, stay away from it. It ain't worth it. You're just gonna ruin your life, and you're gonna be another number. And trust me, they got enough bunks for you and a million other people, and you're always gonna be somebody giving them money. So instead of doing that, giving them money, turn around, get out here. Look it, I ain't never went back. And I may not be balling, but I'm living life, and I ain't gotta worry about the cops taking me and cuffing me up because I ain't out there doing the stupid stuff that I did. So just basically, look, man, from me to you as an OG, just get your life together. And if you got any rehabilitation in you, follow that route. Follow the positive. The negative it's a rabbit hole, and you're gonna constantly keep going down it. So just, from me to you, just avoid it. It ain't worth it,
And I know you said at like 10 years old you got jumped into a gang and you started really getting involved heavily into like the streets. How big or how important do you think exposure is? Because I know for myself, being exposed to certain things, I would reflect back on those experiences, and I'm like, I know now that how important that is for raising a kid. How important was that, do you think, as far as in your life, man, being exposed to certain elements in life?
To be honest, it's like I was kind of like an idiot when I was always fighting when I was a youngster, you know what I mean, getting kicked out of elementaries. I known for always fighting. But I think if my mom was in a position to where she could have removed me and put me in a spot, because I've had family members that wanted to take me out of state because they already seen, my dad pretty much raised me to be a bully. And I hate bullies, so I never followed that, but he pushed me to the point to where he wanted me to never be a punk, never turn nothing down, never, always, you got to be out this. Even though he's changed now towards my brother, he always wanted me to be that person. And for the most part, I did become that person. But if my mom had the financial means to move me to a spot to where I wasn't around the negativity, I think I would have turned out a lot different, because it's been proven. I've been to spots where there was no gangs and I functioned well. I went to Burbank when there wasn't really no, they had gangs, but there wasn't no gang. Even though I was from my hood, I started skating. Dress code changed, everything. Mm-hmm. Got into different alternative type of music. A lot of people say that, like, oh, you like rock music? Yeah, I grew up. My uncle.
My friend listened to AC/DC and all that shit.
I got into punk, like hardcore. Yeah. That's just always been my thing. So rap has always been secondary to me. But yeah, if my mom would have had the financials to move me to another spot, I think I would have turned out a lot different, because it was just mostly the influence. Like my even though my cousins didn't want me to be a Damu, my homeboys, when I moved to my hood, I guess, you know, it's like they didn't have so many numbers. They were looking for somebody. And the simple fact that I was always willing to fight, that was perfect for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, different spot. Take you out the hood before you even get in the hood, and you're good.
That's right. So going into your future, man, what can we expect from you, man? What's some, you know, I know you talked a little bit about you doing the music stuff. You know, shoot to people your social media stuff and kind of tell them as far as like what they can expect from you.
Look, you can find me on IG as Zad Rese, and you can find me as Zad Rese on Facebook as well. And basically, you know what I mean, if this is basically for people that's trying to collab. I'm trying to collab with everybody. I'm trying to create a lane to where we ain't just stuck in the United States. A lot of people stay here and think this is the only place to get it. You can go overseas and get it. And that's basically what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? No hope, no division, uncut. And hopefully you'll see me in the future. And of course, my sister's brand. And this is her son's brand.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, and he's like this. So
that's right. Start young.
Yeah, make your way, man. And if you want to hook up with me, just, you know, hit me on my IG and we'll collab.
Hey, this is Big Herc, fresh out with Blackie, Neil Azad. Man, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad you were
finally
able to
met
get
you,
this interview,
man. It's good to meet
man,
you.
A lot of people would talk about collabing with you, man, and it's really great that you were able to share your experience with us, man. I think our fans really appreciate it. So look for more from this man. Hey, and stay tuned to our channel. Make sure you subscribe. Don't be a weenie. Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com.